Welcome back to Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio podcast and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Myrna Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Martha Burich, author, speaker, and consultant. And Martha and I are going to be talking on the topic today, how to raise happy, responsible children. You know, that should be the goal of every parent. So welcome, Martha.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Yes, I'm so happy to have this conversation as well. All right, so let me give you guys a brief introduction. Martha Burich is a former child psychology professor who used the techniques of parenting to get the best from her students when she taught college classes and high school science and special education. As the former show host of Healthy Moments at BlueWaterHealthyLiving.com and contributing author of Chicken Soup of the Soul books, she provides critical information and the hope needed to stay the course when encountering the turbulence of parenting. Martha's book, Yes, You Can Raise Happy, Responsible Children, is endorsed by Jack Canfield, author of The Success Principles and Chicken Soup for the Soul. So that means she comes highly recommended. All right. So, Martha, as we start off, it's really interesting that we're talking about how to raise happy, responsible children. One of my goals was to raise contributing members to society. Because you know what? And it was really interesting when I heard my brother say that's what he wants for his kids, contributing members to society. So that's really great. That's another flip side of responsible, happy children. And we all know there's a saying that's out there that, parents don't come with a manual. There's no parental manual. So every parent shows up basically how they were brought up or their experiences. And most of the times we get it wrong. So it's great that we have this conversation that we can help somebody get that manual. So my first question is, as a former child psychology professor, how did you discover the techniques and strategies for great parenting?
Well, the first way I discovered it was when my son was 4, he was spoiled rotten. My husband and I, his dad and I, we loved him. And we thought that the way you show love is you say yes.
Right.
Well, by the time he got 4, we had created a monster. And we didn't realize it. And then every time I tried to say no, he would push and push, and I would give in because I was a pushover. So I had to learn to say no. I had to learn to mean no. When I said no, I had to learn to keep it and not change it to a yes. Stop doing the easy thing. And Myrna, you know that rule, do the easy thing, life becomes very difficult.
Yeah.
Do the difficult thing, life becomes easy.
Right.
And that is exactly what happened. I learned how to do the difficult things, and that was to say no in a nice way. I didn't have to be mean about it, but I needed to be firm. So I learned how to be firm and kind. Because I think a lot of parenting, the way I see it is we're all big kids. None of us have really grown up. Very few of us, at least, are really grown and mature human beings as much as we could be. Every day is a learning experience, every single day. So if you're having parenting challenges, well, guess what? Join the club.
Yeah. Okay, so what you're saying is that your son at 4 years old made you realize. I thought that it came later because you're talking about a child psychology professor.
Well, that
And
was later.
that
Yeah,
was later.
yeah.
But it's really true. One of my parenting styles is I'm affectionate, I love or whatever, but I never give in to a tantrum. I never give in to um uh, you know, I, that's how I was brought up, I think. But it was one of my things. And I have my daughter has a 2-year-old. She's not really two yet. She's about a year and she's been 18 months. And she's learned already to cry for what she wants. And I told my daughter, I said, listen, you better stop that, because whenever she cries, you move. Now, as a first parent, and you don't want them to try to cry, and you don't want them to be unhappy. But I told her, I said, you need to stop that, because you're going to create something that isn't going to embarrass you. Because you've seen those kids in the grocery store, throwing tantrums, cursing at their parents and all that. That's what you create. And that's probably what you had as a 4-year old, right? So what other than saying no, how did you deal with that for somebody that has a 4-year old right now? And then we can go on to what you learned as a professor, unless you were a professor at that time.
Well, let's talk about what's our goal for our children. And you talked about, contributing members of society, but also we want people who think about others, who aren't, what we call it the bondage of self, who aren't trapped in their own feelings all the time and thinking that because they feel something, the world needs to jump. That's the recipe for misery.
Yeah.
So, when you have a 2-year-old, she needs chores. She should have chores right now, that 2-year-old, whether it's putting socks that look alike together, putting her dish, handing dish to mom, taking a towel and wiping off her area when she ate, whatever. And even at her age, she could learn to wash some dishes. She should have her own little broom to sweep.
I
If they
love
have
that.
a dog or an animal, she needs to learn how to treat the dog right and maybe empty the dog's dish, put some food in the dish. Just she needs chores. Make her own bed. If she can't do it herself, mom needs to help her, but she needs to know that it's her responsibility to keep her area clean. And she is a member of a household, which is the basics of society. And as a member, she needs to contribute. And when we don't contribute, that's when we get behavior problems. That's when we get selfishness. That's when we get, because we don't see that we're important. All of us we need attention. And if I can't get your attention by doing the right thing, I'm going to do whatever I can to get your attention.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. And that's going to cause a lot of misery because I don't know any better. So don't yell and scream at me when I get your attention the wrong way. Stay calm and say, that's not working, sweetheart. I need you to be calm. I need you to calm down. We can't talk until you're calm, and you stay calm. Now she can cry all she wants, and you can say, sweetheart, if you feel the need to cry, that's fine. Go on in your room and cry. But we can talk when you're calm, because when people aren't calm, how can we have a discussion? I love you. I want you to have the best world, and I want you to be happy, but I can't help you if you're not calm. We both need to be calm. So that's one way that, you stay calm. And see, that's part of our problem, Myrna. We don't know how to stay calm. We get ourselves, oh my goodness, you did what? Oh my goodness, how could you do that? Oh my goodness, we get ourselves in a tizzy, and then the child has all this guilt and shame. They don't know what to do with it. They push back with their guilt and shame because they don't want to take that on. So they got to blame somebody. Then they're going to come back out and blame the parents.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. Now, I believe in chores, but I didn't think that you. Excuse me. Yeah, I didn't think that you start them at 2, because they probably can't even understand language at 2. But I understand what you're saying, that make them responsible, right? And start early, right? Go ahead.
Give mommy the bottle. Give mommy the plate. Give daddy the ball. Hand me the toy, right? They can understand that. Are you hungry?
Right.
Yeah,
yeah.
really.
Well,
And at one, as soon as a 1-year-old, if they've been read to and are used to having books around, knows to turn the book the right way. They'll take the book, if it's upside down, they will turn it the correct way. So if they can figure that out, they can figure out a lot of things.
I like it. I like it. I like it. I'm going to be telling my daughter that that's what she needs to do. My granddaughter has a habit of throwing her food on the floor when she doesn't want any more. Make her pick it up.
Right, she needs to pick it up. She needs to pick it up. That's not anybody else's job. She made the mess.
Yes.
And you don't have to be mean about it, but honey, you need to clean that up. And we can't go anywhere or do anything until that mess is clean.
Good. I love it. I love it. Structure, techniques, right? Okay. All right. So, what else we need to talk about young children as far as parenting before we get to the older kids? What else would you want to share with, mothers with, maybe kids on the 5-year-old?
Stop with the choices. You start when they're young, giving them choices. Next thing you know, they have a fit when you don't have the purple cup. Well, guess what? They need to learn from the beginning. This is what we have. This is what we're eating. If you're making, if you make one meal and the child goes, I don't want to eat that. You go, well, honey, that's fine. You can eat this. Now, I have peanut butter and jelly or something simple that the child, I have cheese, but do not make a separate meal and do not change things. Now, if a child doesn't like a certain food, I don't believe in forcing them. I don't eat what I don't like. You could say, take a bite and see if you like it. But, if they don't like it, don't force it on them because they can get their vitamins and minerals from many different fruits and vegetables or whatever. But if the child throws their food on the floor, that's inappropriate. We don't do that. This is our home. What if the dog were to we don't want the dog to get that, then he'll get overfed. And he could become unhealthy. We have to respect other people and other things. Why would you think you can throw the food on the floor? We don't do that. Would you do that at a restaurant? Would you do that at grandma's house? Would you do that, in front of whoever her idol is? Probably not. But you don't have to lecture them, but you can have a quick discussion about it. And so before the age of 5, try very hard not to give them choices. Here's your pants, whatever. And then as they get older, you can give choices, but that's how we set ourselves up for tantrums and everything else. No, I wanted the blue shirt. No, no,
Right.
honey, here's your shoe.
Okay.
We can't find, I can't find your other shoes. I want my other shoes. Here's the shoes we have today. So limit the choices, and mom and dad, stay calm. The child is going to drive you nuts. That's life. My dog drives me nuts. It's life. We as adults need to be the example. And in fact, Myrna, I have a parenting technique. I call it the 3 L's of parenting. Love them enough to say no. Lead by example. You can't expect the child to be calm if you don't know how to be calm and you haven't shown them how to be calm. And let them fail. Now that's for when they get older, to let them fail. But we'll talk about that too. But also at the part about being calm, here's how we become calm. Let's say the child's really on your last nerves and you've had enough. Well, what are the thoughts going through your mind? Oh, I can't stand this. This is ridiculous. This is making me so mad. Well, first thing you have to do is get a neutral look on your face or a smile. Calm face, body, thoughts. So calm your face down and your thoughts. Usually the thoughts come first. I love this child. I'm aggravated now. I love this child. Right now, she's not behaving the way I'd like, and I can handle it. A lot of times we get excited because we think we can't handle it. No matter what happens, we can handle it. We're the adult. Some things are more difficult, but we will handle it because we're the example. And we need to show our children that no matter what happens, it can be solved. There's always a solution.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I started off by saying that parenting doesn't come in a manual and we all, do or show up with the best of our knowledge. Now, I always thought that giving children choices was creating in them independence and creating in them, whatever I thought I was creating. But luckily for me, I never had children that did tantrums, because as soon as you start to cry for something, you never got it. That was my rule. You want something and you cry for it, you never got it. So I never had the tantrum thing, but I thought that giving choices was a good thing. So you see here, You're saying that. So now let me circle back on that. So you're saying that the only reason we shouldn't give them choices because we don't want them to create to have a tantrum if their choice isn't available, or it is choices do something else psychologically.
Well, we live in an affluent world. I mean, even the poorest among us have so many things in the country we live in. And so many of us are entitled. I mean, let's go back 50 years even. How many choices did a child have 50 years ago?
You had one shoe and one, right.
Here's what
One,
you
one, one pants and one,
there
and
you
yeah,
go. Right.
right.
Exactly. So,
Right.
and you know what? Let me tell you this too. Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, and other high-level executives, do you realize that they have 7 of the same t-shirt and jeans hanging in their closet because they don't have time to make choices. They need their brain for
Right.
important. So
That's true.
picking their clothes is the least they don't even want to have to worry about that. So they just buy the exact same thing and keep wearing it because it's totally unimportant. What's important is our ideas and moving on with our lives and making a contribution to the world. So, it's your choice whether you want to give your child choices or not. But when you start that too early and too often, the child thinks they always have a choice. Well, guess
Mhm.
what? When you go to school, if you go to school and a teacher says, well, you know what, here's your desk, sit down. I don't want that desk. That's where you're sitting.
Right.
Wait a
Right.
minute, at home I get to sit where I want to sit. Oh, you're not home, are you? And then they get distorted ideas about what's in the world and who they are in the world. And I want children to know you're important, but you are not the be all and end all. And
Mhm.
what is really important is that we are able to get along with others and help others and be useful, not to be a, a pushover, but our job is to help others. So,
Right.
and let me give you this example.
Mhm.
If you go to school and you're lonely, and now we're getting into older children, but children will say, oh, I'm lonely, nobody likes me. Well, and you'll get this at 5 years old. Oh my goodness, Myrna, I got to tell you this story. This woman sent her child to preschool, 3 years old, 3 years old.
Mhm.
And the mother was very particular about the child's diet. She did not want her eating, a lot of processed foods and things. But the mother was so concerned that the child would not be accepted socially. Well, I'm afraid if I send her lunch with her, she'll be by herself, that she'll be the only one who has her lunch
Mhm.
and that doesn't get it at the school. And I said, well, let's think here. What's more important? That your child go along with the crowd and then eat unhealthy, or that your child be the trendsetter and learn how to do the right thing? And now let's talk about Milgram's experiment. I don't know if you remember this, Myrna. You probably learned this in Psychology 101. Stanley Milgram did that experiment where he had people turning up the dial on an electricity machine, and they thought that they were giving lethal doses of electricity to the person on the other end. But unknowns to them, they were not, the person wasn't really hooked up. But every time the person made a mistake, they would turn up the electricity. And what would happen is the volunteer or the person being studied, he, the person on the other end would be screaming, no, no, this is hurting me. I'm going to have a heart attack. And the volunteer
Nothing's
would
there.
look at
Right.
the doctor, the man in the white coat, the authority, and authority would say, continue, continue.
Yeah.
7 out of 10 turned up the electricity so high they would have killed the person on the other end.
Yes.
Now, do you want your child to be one of those 7 who does whatever they're told by some authority figure, even though it's not right? Or do you want your child to be one of the 3 out of 10 who's a leader? I
Right.
want my child to be a leader. So to
Yeah,
be a
of
leader
course.
requires that we become uncomfortable and that we
Wow.
do what we know
Mhm.
is right.
Right. Well, wow, these are two things that I would have failed at because, I would have thought that it's better for kids to, I mean, I never had the food experience, but, it's it does something to the acceptance and the self-esteem and the self-worth of children when they have friends and they can fit in. And as a parent, when your kids go to school, you ask them if they're making friends, and if they don't make friends, then you're feeling that they have social issues and all that. But so what you're saying is that this mother should have, instead of worrying about her child fitting in, should have said, okay, well, my child is going to be different, and it's okay. And if she doesn't have any friends, it's okay because she's eating healthy foods. Wow, a lot of us would get that wrong, including me.
But you know what? Here's the thing. Of course she's going to find friends. They're 3 years old.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's
Well, at
another
three
thing.
years old, it's, whatever, but when you get to teenagers, it's more prevalent. But at
Right.
3 years
And let's
old,
talk
right,
about this right now.
right,
Okay, you're a teenager and you're in high school and you don't have any friends. You're lonely. You're
right,
a new kid at school, whatever. You don't know anybody. You know what you do to be a leader? You find the person who's alone. You find the person sitting by themselves at lunch and say, "May I sit with you?"
mhm,
You be the leader.
right,
Most of us are too afraid of being a social outcast to befriend the disabled kid, to befriend, well, I'll use the word, the FAT kid. Can you even say that anymore? You know, the child who looks different or acts different.
right,
We're so
right,
afraid of not being accepted. But Myrna, in today's society, who's accepted? Okay, you get to be a teenager and you're the cool kids, right? What are the cool kids doing? They're sneaking out drinking, doing drugs, doing who knows what. Everybody thinks they're the cool kids and who knows what they're doing. And there you are with them trying to be
right,
cool. Do you know how many
right.
people have
And
told
trying
me
to fit in. You're right. That's pretty
started
dangerous.
with drugs
I'm
and
glad
alcohol
you brought it back full circle because
because
that's true. Yes, yes, right. So if you teach your
I go to the
kids from the
jail
very beginning, I like this
every,
lesson.
and
If you
every
teach your
Wednesday.
kids from the very beginning that it's okay to be different and leading than to join the concentric, the circle and just fit in. Wow, that's good actually. I love that. Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, I go to the jail every Monday and I go to the treatment center every Wednesday and talk to alcoholics and drug addicts. And they all tell me the same story:
Yeah.
to fit in, to fit in, to
Yes,
fit in. And then a
yes,
lot of the reason that a lot of them can't stay off the drugs or the alcohol is because they go hang around those old friends of theirs
yes,
who are still smoking, drinking, drugging,
yes,
doing whatever, doing the things that responsible people don't do, that people who really excel, people who really excel in life, who have strong businesses, um, good families, successful families. Are they alcoholics and drug addicts? Are they running home every Friday night to get high? No, they're doing what needs to be done.
right. Yes. And they're usually the loner ones. They're usually the ones that's sitting at the table by themselves because they're reading a book, right? So that's good. All right. So we spent a lot of time in this one, but where we're starting strong. So, the end result of this particular conversation is yes, your kids don't need to fit in. They don't need and you teach them early, and you don't give them a lot of choices early because what you're trying to say is that I would even make it stronger, that I'm the one in charge here, and you wear what I give you to wear. So that's awesome. All right.
And
Now, one of the other things I had here is that we're going now to the older kids or even maybe the younger kids, because you can misbehave at 5. You say that boredom causes children to misbehave. So how do you teach parents and teachers to keep children entertained?
well, for one thing, we're not looking for entertainment. We're looking for engagement, being interested in things. Let's talk about phones and pads, iPads, and all that stuff right now. Until your children are teenagers, and I'm talking 15, 16, they should never be alone with a phone, with a computer. And that's because you don't know who's on the other side of that. These people that play those video games with teenagers, I don't know if you've seen any of the reports, but within 30 seconds of a teenager getting on a game or a chat or something, there is an adult male usually on the other side who
Yeah.
claims that they're a teenager. So you don't
Yeah.
know who your child is dealing with. And also, children with phones, it's it's become a very, you know, we're seeing parents who can't divorce themselves from their phones. You know, I heard of a little girl who said to her therapist, I wish my mother paid half as much attention to me as she does to her phone. That's the world we're living in right now. You know, when your children come around, put the phone down, turn off the television, look them right in the eye. And that's another thing. If you have to discipline your child, you get right up to them, look them in the eye, and
Mhm.
say, wait, stop. Here's what I want you to do. You know, and okay, let me give you an example. Rather than saying stop running, you need to go up to the child and say, walk. I
Mhm.
want you to walk.
Walk,
Stop. Don't
right?
tell them what not to do. Tell them what to
What to
do.
do, right?
I want you to,
Right.
you're walking too fast. I want you to walk slower. You know, when you go to the grocery store, all right, and prepare them. You need to prepare children for what's going to happen. Look, we're going to be at the grocery store. I expect you to stay where I can see you at all times. That means you look and you can see me. I look and I can see you. We're never so far apart that we aren't within eye distance of each other. Does that make sense? Yes. Good. All right. Are you willing? Can you do that? Yes. Good. Are you willing to do that? Yes. Good. So we have a deal. All right. Now, if you do get out of my sight, then you need to sit in the cart because for a 3, 4, 5-year-old, you can't have them running all over.
Right.
So
Right.
what you do is you're shopping and then the child runs off. Okay, well then I see you decided to sit in the cart. You don't have to be mean about it, you know.
Mhm.
Okay, now I need your help to shop. Where are the bananas? Point to this, show me that, and keep the child interested. Now
Right.
that's what I mean by keeping them not letting them be bored. People will go to the grocery store and the child has nothing to do but to sit in the cart or walk around. They don't have a job. Give them a job. Find a cereal you like. Find the
Mhm.
beans that you like. What's the beans that we eat?
Mhm.
Uh-oh, I need, and then when you get to the place where you put the food on it, okay, even if you have to take the food out of the cart and hand it to the child, let the child put it on the conveyor.
They would like that too, because they
Need
do like to help.
job. They
Yes.
love it.
Mhm.
Give
They
the
love to
child
help.
the money to give to the person, whatever. Give them as many jobs as possible. If they have younger sisters and brothers, they're responsible to hold their hand to help them get through. Everybody should have a job. And the best way to keep a child from getting into stuff at the store is to get something in their hands. So rather than put it in the cart, you put it in the child's hands. Say, oh, carry this for me.
Yes. I like
And
that.
then,
Okay.
then they don't have any room.
But you touched on something very important, and then we moved off from it. We're talking about parents giving their kids phones and iPads, at a year old because they want to keep them busy. Are you
Right.
saying that that's bad? Something is wrong with
Oh,
that?
you are reading so much stuff now, Myrna, about how that is affecting their attention. Now, children do not have an attention span. It affects their ability to think critically and to think deeply. It is really causing a lot of problems because that 6 second, when all entertainment is 6 second intervals, the picture changes, something changes, noise, this and that. Oh my goodness. Myrna, a friend of mine told me to watch some children's movie. She said it was this fabulous movie that everybody loves it. Well, I turned it on and it was a crisis after crisis after crisis. It was something about some little 7-year-old and she was at a new school and somebody bullied her and she was going to cry. And so all these little, whatever they were in her brain were trying to keep her from crying. And oh, it was a crisis and they had to keep that tear from coming out of her or she'd be embarrassed. And
Wow.
what? That is not life. Life is not crisis after crisis. Life
Right.
has challenges, but my goodness, life is times of calmness. When the child has nothing to do, guess what? Hey, how about a pen and paper? How about we do our times tables? How about we add? How about you go to the pantry
That's
and
how,
clean?
that's probably how me and you grew up, right? Because we didn't have all this stuff. But
Yeah,
now you just give the kid um, Miss Rachel or, Gracie's Corner, and they're, they are zoomed in on that, and they can sit and watch that all day.
And in the car, don't show movies in the car. You know, a lot of cars, they have movies and things, or they have
Yeah.
their heads. No, no, no. You're driving in the car, you say, where the red, find a red car. What's the letter on that license plate? Read
Right.
to me. What color is that tree? Where's that house? What color is that house? What is there a dog over there? Show me everything you see. Describe everything you see to me because I'm looking at the road and I'd like to know what's behind me. I can't see or what's beside me. Keep the child interested and engaged. Why is that dog barking? Why do you think he's barking? We don't know, do we? Because we can't see him. We can only hear him. What could be the
But
reasons
they
the
will
dog?
say why they think, which is good. It makes them think about it, right? That's good.
Right, right.
Hey,
Because
listen, I'm liking everything you're saying. I'm liking everything you're saying. So in school, the teachers would do the same thing, stimulate I would put it under the heading of stimulate the child, stimulate their brain, make them think. So that's basically what you're doing instead of just vegetating. That's what we would say, just vegetating. But, we're making them think, develop critical thinking and, answers and things like that. Or, yeah, even in school, the kids love getting chores, picking up
Oh, yeah.
the
They
whatever. They
do.
love it. I mean, every kid that I know always love to help until they get to teenagers, then they don't want to do nothing. But
You know, that's so true
they love
because
to help.
we need to know that we belong and that we contribute and people appreciate us.
Right.
And that's how we learn that we're appreciated because we contribute. Now,
Contribute
at
and help.
school,
Right.
let me tell you a story about my son when he was, I think it was third grade. He was a smart young man, and his teacher said to me one time, you know, Anthony's so smart, and he gets his work done really early. I only have one complaint, and that is he won't help anybody else when he finishes. I said, oh, that's very interesting. So Anthony was right there. He was standing right there. And I said, Anthony, tell me about this. And he said, I said, is this true? Do you see it the way that your teacher said it? And he said, yes, that's exactly true. No, I won't help them. I said, how come? He said, because when she gives instructions, they don't pay attention. They talk and fool around, and then they want me to help them. No, I'm not going to. They should have paid attention when she was giving instructions.
Wow.
Whoa, out of the mouth of an
Wow.
8-year-old, huh?
So do you think that's correct? That he was correct in that?
Oh, definitely. Because
Okay.
what? Those children all they get, oh, then that just gave them license to disturb the other children when they're talking and not paying attention when the teacher gives directions.
I love it. I love
Then they
it.
get away with it and then they get reinforced for it because another child helps them with the work because they didn't understand. Well, they didn't understand because they didn't pay attention.
I like it. This is a great conversation. I'm loving it. A lot of nuggets for you parents. I mean, you're probably getting a failing grade like me. All right, so let's move on. So, you know, um, fortunately or unfortunately for me, I was in the foster care system. So I witnessed a lot of behavioral problems.
Mm.
Now, the behavioral problems in foster care comes from a whole host of things. But um, uh, who is to blame for the behavioral problems that children develop? Whether, in foster care, it's, they misbehave because they're not in a home, they're damaged, they have trauma. But kids misbehave in a healthy mother-father relationship. Or do they misbehave because maybe some of the things that we've said earlier that they were giving choices and and the parents made some mistakes earlier on and this is how it's developing, or what is the reason?
Well, Myrna, let me ask you first. At what age did you get into foster care?
Me, age? Oh, I was in my 40s. Yes, late because I got into foster care when my kids had moved out and I was an empty nester
Oh, you
and I
became a
wanted.
foster parent. Oh,
Right,
I was
right, right.
confused. I
I'm
thought you
sorry.
were a foster
Right.
child.
No, I
Oh,
wasn't a foster child, right?
you know, the first thing I want to say is we don't want to have blame. And let me tell you another story. I had a friend who was a foster parent, and she took the children to visit their parents because they were still having visitation and the parents were trying to get the children back. And she took them to visit, and my friend, the children were very well behaved with her. And the father said, "How do you get her to do that? You know, she wouldn't do a thing for me." Well, see, and here's what she knew that he didn't. He didn't have the skills and and the knowledge to get the child to behave. He just simply didn't know. So we're not going to blame him for the child's bad behavior. As soon as he knows better, he'll probably do better because he wants the child to behave better. See, that's why when we get into all this blame, she's a bad mother, that's all BS. And you know what else? Okay, now sometimes it might be true. I don't know, but when I knew better, I did better. You know, up until my son was 4, I spoiled him rotten. But when I knew better, I did better.
Mhm.
And so we got to get out of this blame, because if it is to be, it's up to me. I can tell you all day long, well, you know, your child's spoiled, blah, blah, blah. But if it is to be, if I don't want that child to be spoiled around me, then I will act in particular ways. I don't know what the child does at your house, and it's not my business. But I do know what the child does when they're around me. I can
Right.
control that. So if you want things to change, if I want things to change, I have to change me. See, this is the part that we don't like. It
Mhm.
it it always, this is the hard part. Parenting is difficult. It is the hardest job you'll ever have. But you know what? Children, what do you remember the first time you held one of your children? I mean, it just makes me want to cry right now just to think
Right.
about it. Just
Yes.
what a miracle, what a
Yes.
miracle life is. And we love our children and want the best for them. But sometimes we just don't know what to do. But when we learn what to do, and sometimes we never meet anybody who knows what to do. People tell us, hit that kid, do this. Oh, never, this whole gentle parenting thing. Oh, now, hon. Oh, now, honey. Oh, now. That's not going to work, parents. Okay, we do need to be firm, but we don't need to hit a child, and we certainly don't need to call them names or insult them or say anything mean. It's pretty much, what did you do? Did that work? No, that doesn't, and that doesn't work for me, hon. And maybe it works for you, but that doesn't work for me. So let's talk about it. Let's get calm and let's talk about what could have happened and what should happen. What I'd like to see next time. You
Yeah.
know, just be calm. But it's hard. I tell you, at my age now, I still get all bent out of shape, not in front of anybody else. At least I've learned not to get mad in front of anybody else, but I still have my little fits.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, yes, I come from a society, being a Caribbean and person where, you beat your kids and all that. So we've changed from that, where you don't beat your kids and you discipline them and you send them into a corner, and however they're disciplining kids now. Um, but I still think that what you're saying is correct, that um uh, it is up to it's training. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? If you start early by speaking gentle to the kid and saying exactly what you said, that doesn't work for me, and not getting upset and whatever. If you start training them from young and letting them know that I love you, because when you're good, you get all the hugs and you get all this and whatever, then it will be a different outcome. So the answer to the question, are parents to blame for kids who misbehave, who have behavioral problems? Most of the time it is, but then some kids develop behavioral problems because of psychological issues. And those develop in the foster care system. They develop it because of all the other things that's going on into their lives. But um, they train foster parents. You go through a lot of training,
Mhm.
but a lot of times you can't help the kids. Training doesn't work.
That is so
Can't
part
help the kids,
we're
because
going there.
by the time
That's
they
the
come
other
into the
thing too.
foster care system, they're not listening to you. They don't value you. They don't listen to you. There is absolutely no corporate punishment. You can't punish them,
Right.
and they take advantage of that. So, but yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to have really good kids, and that's because I was firm, right? But they know that I love them. Like I've never hit my kids, but I don't play that. When I look at you or I say no, it means no. You know what I mean? So because I came from a parental, policy that, yeah, kids don't rule their parents, but kids these days rule their parents. And that's what we get, right? Right.
Exactly. And then the parents become very uh, depressed and
Yes.
unhappy, and everybody's unhappy. Let me give you an example of punishment that isn't really necessary. When children are little, they'll grab your hair and pull it. Let's say a 6 month old. They'll grab
Yeah.
your hair, grab your glasses, whatever. All
Mhm.
right. So the first time you go, oh, that hurts, honey, let go. And then the child does it again. You say, I see you don't want to sit on mommy's lap anymore. Here you go. Now you're on the floor. We'll give you a chance, another chance in 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. You just nice and calm. People say stuff like, we'll pull her hair or slap her hand, or the child doesn't know. They don't know what you're experiencing. They have no idea. They're still learning. And let me tell you another story. I had one of my students in my child psychology class years ago. She told me that I think he was 3, put his shoes in the microwave and turned it on.
Because he wanted to dry it or something.
Well,
Right.
he had seen mom put stuff in the microwave all the time. You know what I mean? You just put stuff in there, push the button, boom, 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 boom. Okay, I guess, all right, my shoes are wet or they need to be cooked.
That's
Who
what I
knows?
said. You need to dry, right?
Well, she spanked him. She spanked him. And
Mhm.
I said, what did you just teach him? He's a child. He had no idea that what he did was wrong. Now, when you punish children too much, here's what you wind up with. There's an actual um, there was research on babies, and there was one particular baby. He was about a year old. His father was very abusive and would spank him and hit him. Well, when dad would come home, that baby would just sit in the middle of the floor and start to cry.
Mhm.
He was afraid to do anything.
Right.
That's what happens when you punish children all the
Mhm.
time when they make mistakes. That's what happens when you insult children. That's what happens when you make fun of them. When you have your tantrum because they did something wrong. And maybe it looks like to you like they did it deliberately. Whether they did it deliberately or not, that's to have a conversation. But it's no reason for you to have a snit fit and to be a bad example, because our job is to be a good example.
So how should a parent have handled putting your shoes in the microwave?
Well, yeah, you say, we don't do that, hon.
That's
And
it?
he's a 3-year old. He doesn't know. You say the microwave's for food, sweetheart. Why'd you put and he won't even know. Honey, why'd you put your shoes in there? He doesn't know. He saw
Okay.
mom put stuff in the microwave. He thought, oh, let's make that funny noise.
What
Oh,
happens if he does it again?
yeah, if he does it again, well, you still don't want to hit him. Then you say, the microwaves, you cannot touch it. The microwave is not for you to touch. Mom will use the microwave, or dad will use the microwave only, not you, because I can't trust you. Now, do
Okay.
you agree with that? Do you understand? And then you have to get their agreement. Does that make sense to you? Do you understand what I'm telling you? Yes.
Okay.
Are you able to do this? Yes, I am, Mom. Are you willing to leave the microwave alone?
Although.
And then
Okay.
they say
Okay.
yes, you go, great. We'll
Get
talk
it.
about it another time. If they say no, you say what needs to happen so that you can leave the microwave alone. Have a conversation and stay calm, because they're not stupid. We're learning. I
Mhm.
make mistakes every day. You know why? You know who makes mistakes? People who do things, and
Right.
especially people who do new things and different things.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. So, something just popped into my head. I said I have a 2-year-old granddaughter where my daughter said she has to put things out of the kids' way because she wants to pull things. And it's dangerous for her to pull things. So what does, how do you handle that? She's not young enough, she's not old enough to understand what you're saying. So how do you tell a kid that it's wrong to pull things down?
Well, one thing, you have to get on your hands and knees and crawl around that house and see things from that baby's perspective. And the baby, that 2-year-old does not know any different. She does not know that if she sticks a knife in an electric socket, she's going to
Right,
kill herself. She
right,
doesn't know that cord is attached to a coffee pot that could hurt
right,
her. She does
right,
not know. So it's your job to keep her safe. It would be the same as if my dog was there. I'm not going to leave a cord out for the dog. He doesn't know. He's
right. Okay.
they aren't mature enough yet. So you need to tape cords down. You need
Okay.
to make sure that there are
Well,
childproof.
that's what she's doing. I'm just wondering, like, if she pulls something down, if there is, because we're talking about redirects here, if
Mhm.
there's a way to redirect her to not do it. But yeah, I mean, everybody knows to childproof their house, but other than that, that was
But
the
if there's
question.
something, let's say like the TV remote or something she keeps messing with, yeah, then you have to get it out of her way, but you also have to have a talk with her. You can't mess with this, but if it's something dangerous, it's your job to make sure she's not in danger. But if it's, let's say it's like her older brother's, I don't know, baseball cards or something, she has to be taught, you cannot play with those. Those are for you. But he has to be taught to keep them out of her way too.
Right, right. Okay.
So it's a two-way street, but we do have to be careful. It's no different. And this is going to sound funny, but it's no different than when I'm cooking and my dog wants to jump up on that counter. Am I going to leave a steak right there for him to get? No, I have to move it, even though it's a big pain. I have to move that steak out of the way.
Well, yeah, that's what parents normally do. But I'm like loving the way that you handle things, the kid in the grocery store and the kid in the car. I'm looking for some unique way to handle toddlers. There's always touching and pulling things down.
Yeah. So
So,
that's a
all
real
right. So
problem.
there's no redirect for that. You just got to move stuff out of the way. All
Yeah.
right. That's
Unless
good.
you want to learn, if it's like soft, some material or something, then let it fall on their heads. But
Right.
otherwise, no.
Right, right, right. Yes, exactly. All right, so let's go to the teenagers. What are some ways parents can navigate through the troubled waters of teen years? They have become an endangered species. They're sullen, they don't talk, they don't listen. They're always on their phones. You can't, you know, yes, they are an endangered species. So,
All
what are
right.
some
So
good advice?
when you see the child is on the phone all the time, you don't just take it away from them. That's when you cause gigantic meltdowns. These kids are so addicted to these things. It is insane the meltdowns that I've seen children have because their electronics were taken away from them, whether it was video games, the phone, whatever. So what you do is you have a conversation. You say, I'm really concerned. You're on the phone too much. So let's discuss. I'm your parent and we need to restrict the times that you have your phone. Oh, before I even start this, never, and I mean never, let your child have their phone or computer in their bedroom at night. They must sleep, and especially your teenager will be up until 4 in the morning talking
Right,
with their friends, and then they won't be any good at school the next day,
right,
or they won't even get up for school. And you don't know who they're talking to or what's going on if that
right,
phone is in their room. Phones, computers should all go into your room, door locked, whatever, where they can't get a hold of it until you give them permission. They should not have these things willy-nilly. They are not old enough or mature enough. People don't really mature until they get to be about 20, 25. The logic part of the brain isn't
mhm,
mature enough. So it's our job to keep them safe. So the phones get locked up where the child cannot get it, then it certainly should not be in their room. And so that they can get a good night's rest. And then you have to allow certain periods of the day where they can have it. And they only get it if the chores are done. Is your bed made? Is this, they have to have these chores because that is part of living. Did you wash the dishes, put the dishes away? And rather than punish children, give chores. say, you know what, people think that's going to make them hate chores more, but work has to be done. So let's get it done. You know what? Because you disobeyed me and you snuck your phone, I need you to rake the leaves.
Mhm.
When you're done, come back and tell me, and I will go out and check your work. And then, don't make it something that's going to take them hours, but give them a chore to do. I need you to load the dishwasher. I need you to take the dishes out of the dishwasher. I need you to dry the dishes, put the dishes away, something that's going to take them at least 10 minutes. And whatever the infraction is. And then that way you get stuff done and you're not just punishing willy-nilly. It's stuff that actually has a purpose and the child can feel good about it when they do a good job.
Mhm.
So don't get yourself all upset, but you have to have a discussion with the child because you can't just grab their phone and say, give me that phone. I've had enough of that. Because then you're both in a bad mood. And also when you're really aggravated with your child, and this is very difficult, Myrna. When you're really aggravated with your child, your first thought has to be, I'm going to cry even thinking about it. You have to look at that child and think to yourself and say, I love you. I don't like how you're behaving. We need to talk about this. I love you. And if you can't say it, think it. I love this child. I'm here to help this child. This child loves me. And now let's talk about the child's disrespectful to you. The teenage years, yes, this does happen. The children have to divorce from you a certain way. They have to distance from their parents. And the way they do it is they become rude and unlivable, just difficult and snotty and say the most ignorant things. And you know what? The child has a right to say whatever comes out of their mouth, and you have a right to not accept it. And you can say, I understand that you're growing and that you're seeing that I'm a human being and I make mistakes. I don't like it a lot, and I love you. And even though you're aggravated with me or think that I'm, not the coolest person in the world, I still deserve your respect because I love you and I care for you. So you can, I don't want you to be saying mean things to me. And if you do, you're going to have a chore. You're going to have a chore because I do not deserve that, just as you do not deserve me saying mean things to you.
So you don't say things like, this is my house, and when you're living under my house, you have to obey my rules. None of
They
that.
already know that.
What?
They already know that. That's a power struggle. That's a power struggle. And they already know that. Because where are they going to go? They know that. That's that doesn't have to be said. But what needs to be said is I love you and I'm concerned. And I know that when you get older, you're going to change your mind, but you're going through a period now where you have to distance yourself from me, and I understand that. And but I still deserve respect and I still deserve to be treated like a human being.
Hmm. So until you can be a better person, then every day you do the dishes, something like that.
Yeah, then just today, yeah. If they say something really ignorant to you, that hurt my feelings and it wasn't necessary. I need you to go wash the dishes or whatever and come
Right.
back and tell me when you're done so I can check and go from there. And then if they don't do that, well, most of the time, if the child does the punishment, well, I won't call it punishment, consequence. These are really consequences. If the child follows the consequence, that means they're a good kid. They're
Right.
basically a good kid. They want to get along with you. It's when
Right.
they won't ever,
Good.
just totally like, you're full of it, get out of my face, blah, blah, which you are going to get from people who are scared. That's what you get from people who are scared and defensive. You're full of it, get out of my face. And what you need to do is say, you know what? I love you. I want the best for you. Let's talk when you're feeling better. When you're calm, we can have a talk, but we can't talk until you're calm.
Mm. Wow. Wow.
And that's
Yes.
calm face, body, and
Yes.
thoughts.
You're very right. Maybe 90% of kids will do the chore because they still respect their parents. Even though maybe they don't agree with them, they respect their parents because they've been brought up right until this point. But if you've got like a parent that they don't respect, like they're an alcoholic or they see you beating your wife or something like that, and you tell them to do something, they're going to absolutely refuse. And then you have to say, well, what am I going to do? Right? I mean, this is not even something we can even talk about here because this would go on forever. But you do have kids that, parents don't know what to do with them, and they can't throw them out. So when we talk about troubled teenagers, it's not easily handled like, we just mentioned that they would go do their chores. A lot of times they wouldn't. So let's do a quick rebuttal on that one, and then we can go on and talk about your book. Right.
You have to learn, you have to know every one of their friends. Do not allow them to hang with people that you don't know and you don't know their parents. Part of the problems that some parents have is they are not good examples, and the child knows that.
Right. That's what I just said.
Yeah, that's exactly what you just said. So the parents causing their own problem, the child won't do what they want because
they have no respect for
them. There's no respect for the parent.
Right. So then you have this classic power struggle, right? Like you said, no good ends comes to it, right? All right. Well, wow. Listen, parenting is not easy. It starts from the baby, it goes, and it doesn't even finish when they're 18 because I'm still parenting my daughter and my son, and they're in their 30s, right? So it never ends. You're always a mom, you're always a dad, and you're always parenting them, and if you have good kids, then they listen and respect you. My daughter doesn't do anything unless she calls me first and gets my opinion, because that is that is the closeness we have, and that is how I raised her, and things and she respects me. Of course, she respects my opinion. So that's the whole thing, and it starts from a baby. And I'm glad we started off by talking about the 2-year-old and the 3-year-old and the 5-year-old, because that is where you set the foundation. And right, you show love, but you're firm, right? And you say, listen, yeah, because my pastor said to me something a long time ago. My daughter had a 16-year-old friend that said her parents were the most horrible things, and she would tell me all the things that her parents were doing and all that. And she ran away and came to my house. And I talked to my pastor about it, and he says that her parents are the authority, and whether she likes it or not, they are the authority. And if she doesn't listen to the authority of her parents, then she's not going to listen to the cops. She's not going to listen to her boss at work. They have to understand the authority. So, when you set up that example, whatever, that I'm the authority and you need to listen to me. I mean, I think that's how you get contributing members of society. That's what I think, right?
Yes, that's the bottom line. You are right, Myrna, because that is the bottom line. I'm your parent, I love you, and I'm the bottom line.
Yes.
The end. Yeah,
Yes.
what I say goes. And also, there's no problem that can't be solved. So even if it doesn't matter the age of the child, it can be solved. The problem can be solved. So no matter when you get, because foster parents get children at all ages. So a child's behavior can change at any time, at any time.
Yes. Yes. That's good.
Right.
Beautiful. All right. Now, I love your book. It's called Yes, You Can Raise Happy, Responsible Children. No, we didn't talk about the happy children, but we talked about the responsible children. So, and of course, it's, endorsed by Jack Canfield, Success Principles. Now, tell us, why did you write the book, and what do you want readers to walk away with after reading? From our conversation, I know the answer to this question, but, we can, speak it so we can put a bumper sticker on it.
No matter what parents do, we feel like we're wrong. Somebody's always got something to say, no matter what we do. If we feed them only healthy food, give the kids some candy sometimes. If we feed them too much, junk food, oh my goodness, your child isn't eating healthy. No matter what we do, we're wrong to somebody. So get rid of the parental guilt. If you're doing the best you can, let it go with that. Of course you want to learn more and do more, but stop with the guilt and start getting better skills. Start deciding, what? I need to be the example. So usually where we fall down is we are not the example we need to be for our children. So if your children aren't behaving right, it's usually because you're not the good example. But then also, I also want to caution everybody. School is where children learn lots of bad behavior. You know why? Because teacher has 30 children and a lot of them don't know how to behave, and teacher doesn't have time
Right.
to catch them every time, so they get away with a lot. So then here you are, the good kid, seeing that he's getting away with everything, and you're like, well, wait a minute here. What am I? Why he gets away with everything, and I'm so good, nobody gives me attention. So they learn a lot of behaviors that aren't too cool, and it's not the teacher's fault either. They're overwhelmed. I was a teacher for 16 years. Heavens, I know, I know.
Right.
So we don't want to assign blame. What we want to do is, how can we change this? How can we change this? And you know what? Somebody else can't change it. You go to school, the teachers all say, those parents. Then you go with the parents' house, and the parents are all those teachers.
Teachers, right,
And
right,
so
right.
when I have your child's behavior is up to me. When you have your child's behavior is up to you. So I can't control your child at your house, and you can't control your child at my school.
Mhm.
So we want them to instill them with basic decency, ethics, morals, care for other people. But the opportunity, behavior is happens because of opportunity. And if you have opportunity to do wrong, schools, okay, phones at school. Guess what the kids would do with the phone when they all had a phone in the classroom? They'd all decide they're going to meet in the bathroom. So you have this kid from this
Mhm.
class, and then five of them are all in the bathroom doing who knows what.
Right.
So yeah, that's one reason why you shouldn't have phones in the classroom, but that's a whole nother thing. Why did I write the book? Because parents need help. I needed help, and it changed our lives. It changed our lives. My son and I became so close. Oh my goodness, we would just talk and we would read the same books together and talk about those books. It totally changed our lives. It was really worth it. And it didn't take 6 weeks, 6 weeks for a complete turnaround of that child.
Wow. It's pretty good. Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So you wrote the book so that you can teach, I'm helping you here because you didn't mention it, so that you can teach parents some skills. Is that what you were doing in the book? You're teaching them some skills like what we've talked about here. We've talked about a couple of skills here that, I said I would have chosen a different way of doing it. But so you're teaching them some skills. So that's amazing. All right. And if you were to give them a message, what you want them to walk away with, what would be the message?
Let go of guilt and shame. Whatever you did yesterday's done. If you have to make up for things, make up for them. But
Okay.
move forward today. You hanging on to guilt and shame from the past is only sucking all the life out of you, and then you're not present for your children today. And all you have is today. Yesterday's gone, tomorrow's not here. If you do your best today, tomorrow takes care of itself, and tomorrow will be wonderful. So do your
Right.
best today.
Yeah. And I love your story that you turned around your spoiled rotten kid, until in 6 weeks. And the reason your kid was spoiled rotten because you thought that saying yes and showing him love was the way until it created, a very spoiled child.
A
Nobody likes a
monster.
spoiled child.
That's right.
So, which is basically what I said to my daughter. I says, if you start running every time she cries, that's what you're going to create. Right? That's what you're going to create. So that's amazing. All right. Well, listen, I enjoyed my conversation with you, Martha. I mean, I'm no longer a mother with young kids, but I'm a grandma. And I always, like, my daughter is like a stork. I'm always feeding her. So whatever I learn, I feed her. And I'll make sure she listens to this conversation as well. She'll pick up a few tips because she has an opportunity to influence, her daughter with love. I love the how we started off by saying that she should have chores. That was the first time I've heard that. People say that you should tell your kids to pick up their toys, but nobody ever talked about all the other stuff, wiping down and you help them make up the bed and things like that. That was beautiful. So I love where we went with that, and we left a lot of nuggets for parents and grandparents to pick up. Now, where can our listeners get a copy of your book? Let me know if you have a website, your social media handles that they can follow you, and get more of your great content.
We'll put the links up when you post the show, but also I'm on Facebook, Martha Burich, and LinkedIn. Also, my book is available at Amazon. Yes, you can raise happy, responsible children. And also, I have a Facebook group, Mastering Child Behavior. Join my Facebook group. It's free. Mastering Child Behavior, Elite Solutions for Parenting Success. But all you have to know is Mastering Child Behavior. It should come right up for you. And join my Facebook group. It's free. And also, when you join the Facebook group, I do have a 14-page document where you can learn your parenting style and how that style affects your child's behavior.
Oh, I love that. Okay, awesome. So that's great. Well, listen, thank you, Martha, for being on the show. Thank you for this very inspirational content and conversation. One of the things I love when I have a guest on the show that somebody listening can learn something from the conversation. So we learned a lot today. So this was a great conversation. So listen, guys, if you are a young mother, an older mother, with some teenagers, a grandma, once you're into a teacher, then go pick up Martha's book, because they say that parenting doesn't come with a manual, but here is a manual. And if you know better, you will do better. And not only would you have happy, responsible children, but you would also have children that are contributing members to society, which should be your end goal. So yes, go pick it up. I will have a summary of my conversation with the highlights on the show page, which is myhelps.us. I will link out to Martha's book, and I also will link out to her social media handles and her Facebook group. So you can just click that if you forgot how to reach out to her. So Martha,
Thank
I'm
you,
sorry.
Martha. I learned from you, and also your daughter and your granddaughter are lucky to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. Listen, I enjoy being a parent. So it's one of the highlights of my life. Fills me up. So yes. And I love teaching. So that's what I do. So yeah, my little experience helped with the conversation. So thank you very much. All right, guys. Well, oh right. Martha, any last words before we wrap up? I mean, I don't know if that was it.
I think we said it. Just don't, just one day at a time. It's all going to work out. Just do your
Yes.
best.
Yes, right. And being a parent is still the most fulfilling, rewarding experience that you would have on this earth. Even when you have bad kids or misbehaving kids or ones that don't respect you, the love that's in your heart never extinguishes. So, and that makes us human. So, all right. Well, listen, thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life. Today, we were talking about parenting and how to raise happy, responsible children. Our guest today was Martha Burich, Burich. So if you're looking for her on Facebook, it's by her name. And as she mentioned, her group is called Mastering Child Behavior on Facebook. Thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, namaste.